Hey, what's going on? I'm Keith here at Sports Vibes TV, and this is another edition of the Knicks Sunday stream. And I'm joined, as always, by my guy Stephen Fox, our NBA analyst. Foxy, how's everything with you?
All is well. Shout out to you. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to the SV Nation. Hope all is well. Next one today. It's a good night.
Yeah, it's always good to follow up after a win, even though there's some conflicting beliefs. Some people believe we should not be winning as many games as we should this late in the season. So, Foxy, how would you feel about that? Do you think this team is going in the wrong direction, winning games late in the season when we should be trying to jockey not for play-in position, but actual lottery picks or
Well,
lottery
in
odds?
a perfect world, we do that, but the kids are playing, and
Hmm.
so I'm getting into that. We beat the team that's going to get the number one draft pick, and on par for that. So nah, we beat the team, and I've come to terms that unless we trade up, we're not going to get the players that we discussed in previous. Bye, Ben. Nice knowing you.
Nice knowing you. We barely knew thee.
Yeah, we barely knew you, Ben Matherin, but
Well, we never knew you actually.
exactly. So 12, 13, 14, we'll see. And from there, but I'm really, really happy with the kids. So
Yeah, I fall in the same camp too, Foxy. I feel like this is a weaker draft. We're not going to be able to move up into like the top 10, I believe. We know that the NBA, they're not going to assist in any of the lottery process when it comes to the New York Knicks. And if we're not going to be able to get up there to get one of those elite players in the draft, then this is the best alternative. You're starting to see some of the young guys really start to blossom. And we're going to talk about that in this show today. We're going to talk about the Knicks versus Pistons. We're going to talk about how the young guys looked in Randle's absence. Also, talk about some potential moves if the team decides to go in a different route with when it comes to our who we're going to focus and build around. If they decide to move on from Randle, we'll talk about some rumors that have been circulating. Also, Thibs, he came at the Knicks fans. I'm not sure if you know Foxy. Were you privy to that information?
yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah. He's coming up. He's coming at Knicks fans for some reason. I don't understand why these guys think, they can talk about fans as if we aren't educated in the topic. But we'll talk about that. We'll dive a little bit deeper. And also, there's some news with Zion. He's been rumored to the Knicks once again. It seems like every week there's a different Zion rumor swirling around. And then we're also going to talk about Cam. And you guys know we always end the show with the SVTV Lounge. So make sure you guys
Yeah.
stick around. That's the portion of the show where you guys are able to, ask us questions and get our opinions on all things Knicks. So, Foxy, let's jump right into the game. The New York Knicks, we were able to beat the Pistons tonight 104-102. And I thought it was going to be a laugher because to start the game, it seems like the Knicks were kind of, clicking. The Pistons weren't able to, convert their shots. And we were able to build up a nice lead. But somewhere in, the second quarter, I think right around when Thibs decided to put Randle in, we saw the Pistons start to mount a comeback. So, they were able to bring it to within too. And luckily, we got Alec Burks, who was able to, at the end of that game, strip Cade Cunningham and seal the win. So, how did you feel while you were watching the game? Were you as nervous as I was, seeing that the Knicks were stumbling once again in the third quarter?
Yeah, it's like, oh no, not another 21-point lead that's going to be lost. And you're like
Yep.
feeling in the pit of your stomach, like Sadiq's going to hit a three to win it. You could just see it, at the end. But I'm glad we won. Yeah, I agree with you. The kids, and when Randall came in, I thought at first with Randall in the game, they were icing him a little. They weren't passing a lot to him. So it was a really inefficient game today. Other than Burks, RJ was inefficient, Randall was inefficient, Quick was inefficient. But we won. I'll tell you though, some of the positive takeaways. And we had 19 assists. We got beaten points in the paint, 52-40. And as I said to you off camera, that they're going to get the number one draft pick. So I'm glad we beat Detroit, but they got issues, that team. But we won. But you sent out a tweet showing quickly on the sidelines with
Mm-hmm.
his iPad with the guys. That screams leadership to me. And a little later in the game, or part of the game, I saw him walking off the court with his arm around McBride, just talking. Wow, he's gone up like leaps and bounds in my book quickly. I'm not saying he's a point guard, but you don't have to anymore. But he's a leader, and that means a
Yep.
lot to me. So his defense, his leadership, and even beyond that play or on the sidelines with the iPad going over with just the kids. It was just the kids. And I don't know if I've seen that anybody else this season do that. But if you watch him during the game, he's continually pointing the guys, telling them where to go on the court. This guy will definitely be a coach. I guarantee quickly he'll be a coach in 10 or 15 years in this league. He's just that type of student. You hear a little echo?
No, not on my end. I was trying to actually play the clip, but for some reason, here we go.
Here you go.
You
Yeah,
still hearing the echo?
I'm cool. We're good.
Okay, good. So yeah, that's a little bit of the clip showing Emmanuel quickly. He's had some coaching moments, and I think that was pretty big. That was a big moment, honestly, because with this team at times they're looking for leadership. You know, we are a very veteran-heavy team, but I don't look at those vets as leaders in the locker room. So to see Emmanuel quickly, a homegrown guy, stepping up and actually being a coach out there, and especially if he's going to be playing point guard, I think we both are starting to lean towards the fact that he's not. Well, you were firmly in the position that he wasn't a point guard. Me, I'm starting to make my way over into that camp. But with him playing point guard for this team, to see him have those leadership traits, I think that's excellent and that's encouraging for us Knicks fans. And to speak on Emmanuel quickly in his game today, he was 6 of 15 from the field, 4 of 9 from the 3-point line. That's good for 16 points, 3 assists, and 6 rebounds. So, you know, he was inefficient, but he's still finding a way to affect the game rebounding wise. He's been pulling down a lot of rebounds over these last 3-4 games. So that's
Fantastic.
exciting to see. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And he started off the game, man, on
Mm-hmm.
fire.
Yep.
So
him and Obi. Obi had what, 12, and then Quick had 8, if I'm not
yeah,
mistaken.
something like that. Yeah. So they're
Obi had
definitely
8 and Quick had 12. There we go.
yeah, definitely. Well, he was hitting threes galore. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so there was. I'm glad when D Rose went down, we all said, "Hey, D Rose was so critical for both IQ, but also especially Obi." And it looks like Quick now is taking that upon himself. So, hey, I agree with you that this year I've been saying I didn't see a point guard, but when you do start doing stuff on the sidelines like that with the iPad, and that's a leader. That's point guards about making everybody better around them. And that, he, like I said, I'm so impressed with him that just cut down those dribbles. He dribbles a whole lot. There's a lot of possessions like, oh my God, he just dribbled like 18 seconds out of that 24-second clock. But that'll come. And I'm really, really happy for them.
Yeah, so let's talk about RJ. RJ was 7 of 18 for the game. That's good for 21 points, 9 rebounds, 1 assist. He also had a beautiful little spin move and finished with the right hand towards
Stunning.
the end of the fourth quarter. I think that was definitely nice to see from him, being able to attack defenders off the dribble and have that level of finesse. Because normally we see RJ, he's usually like a bully ball type of player, just muscling his way into the paint. But to see him show that level of quickness and finesse in that moment, I think definitely something that made me say, wow, I didn't know he had that in him.
Yeah. Also, from a strain standpoint, I don't know if it was me, but a couple of times, Cade Cunningham, who's 6'7", was like, damn, this guy is strong. Meaning about RJ, he bounced off him a couple of times, like, wow, this guy is really, really strong. So, I'm not patting myself on the back, but I said when he came out that he's going to be the number 1 pick. He's going to be an all-star, meaning talking about Cade. But folks, he's got to work on his handle. And then, boy, did we see that today. He has this lackadaisical handle. He's smooth, but he's got to be intense, man, and on D and stuff. So
dribbles almost like Cam somewhat. A little nonchalant with the ball. He looks a little nonchalant when he's ball.
Great comparison. Yeah.
Yep.
And that's not good for a point guard or somebody that's a facilitator like that. So Burks came up with the big steal, and RJ with that. I think that was on Cade, that beautiful spin to the other hand for that big basket. So go RJ, man.
Yeah, so it's nice to see that from RJ. But let's also talk about now Julius Randle. So he had missed the previous 3 games, and he came back, and I mean, it was some more of the same. I think you saw some frustrated moments. There was a moment where he tried to go ISO. He got stripped. The Pistons went towards the other end of the court. You didn't see Julius Randle try to hustle and get back into the play. He kind of was trying to cherry pick. Luckily for us, the Pistons missed the shot, but we got the rebound, passed it back to Julius Randle, and he missed pretty much a wide open layup. I would say that's a wide open layup for an NBA player. And then once again, he didn't get back, and the Pistons were able to score an easy bucket in transition. And these are some of the things we've had issues with Julius Randle throughout the season. So it sucks to see him, recuperate, rest up, and now come back and still show some of the same, mannerisms out there on the court.
Yeah, absolutely. You forgot to say Bagley destroyed him today. I mean,
killed him. You see that dunk? Oh, that was brutal.
But a lot of it was effort. And hey, folks, Keys put out 2 wonderful videos on the kids and on Quickly. If you haven't checked it out, please check it out. Because Keith may have had the line of the year when he showed one of the plays with Randle. He said, on help defense, you remember your line, what you said?
Yeah, his mantra is not my man, not my problem.
Yeah, he was just standing there.
Yeah.
So you had that wonderful video, and then, I'm stopping, rewinding today with Bagley, and I'm like, oh my God, this guy's back again. And just meaning we're, the 3 games, you're seeing this tenacious, these kids and everything on switches, they're intense and all this stuff. And you're like, great, this is fantastic. I'm really excited. And then all of a sudden he comes back, and like he said, same old Julius, that inefficient, and on defense was just atrocious, man.
And another jarring play was to end the half. You saw Julius Randle try to push the pace, try to get a last-second shot, but there was 7 to 8 seconds left on the shot clock. I mean, not on the shot clock, on the game clock, for the half, and he's pushing the ball up the court, and there's people open. Then we had Evan in the corner, not in the corner, but Evan at the 3-point line. He was open, and he didn't look to pass to anybody, and he wasn't even able to get up a quality look to end the quarter.
Well, you don't like a fadeaway like that?
Yeah, it was terrible. And then he's turning around and he's arguing with the ref.
Like,
bro, you should have gave the rock up. Why are you trying to push the pace, and you have other guys that are already ahead of you, and they're open? Pass the ball. The ball will move quicker if you pass it up, as opposed to you trying to push the pace and just trying to dribble. You're not going to outrun the ball. They tell you that time and time again. So he should have moved the ball. Maybe we would have got a high quality look. Fournier was open. We know Fournier can knock down threes and get hot when we need him to. So for him to be playing like that, and after we saw how the team looked when they were able to move the rock, ball movement, the ball didn't stick, and now we're seeing him come back and try to play the same type of basketball. It's not a good brand of basketball to watch, honestly, as a fan.
Yeah, it didn't surprise me. You mind if I talk about something real quick about the Hornets game?
Feel free, go ahead.
Let me just do a quick shout out. My friend D, or D is Balling. He's a real close friend of mine, and God, does he see the game. So when we, whether it's games, college or pros, we're always talking. So he says to me, did you see what Randle did? What do you mean? He goes, in the last minute. And I go, no. So he says, go back and rewind. So with 45 seconds to go against the Hornets, the team realized we're going to win this one. So you see the joy on the kids. Everyone's like pumped, amped, and everything. With 45 seconds to go, Randle gets up from the bench and he walks to the tunnel. And all of a sudden he turns around and there's not a smile on his face. He has the same look on his face like when he has to shoot a foul shot with 2 minutes to go in a game, like somebody punched him in the stomach, like, oh my God, I'm watching a nightmare before my eyes. They're winning without me and they're having fun. So the game ends and RJ walks off the court and Worldwide West walks over and gives him a hug. And RJ says, I'll catch up with you later. He goes over to Taj and gives him a hug, goes over to Obi and gives him a hug. And RJ's a slick dude. He's had, and you brought this up, media training since he's probably 7 years old. So he knows the camera's on him at all times. So I know that he was laying it on thick that look how happy we are because they're all hugging each other like, man, look how well we play with that son of a bitch Randle's not on the court. So it's like, man, are we having? So I said to myself, oh man, Randle's going to watch this replay and it's going to get into his head. And I hope that they were going to, bench him for the rest of the season and just say, hey, we want you to be healthy. But I said there's going to be some behavior in the next game. Randall's going to be Randall or something like that. But everybody was joyous, unbridled joy that we're winning, we're playing, the ball's moving and everything. And Randall was the only one not smiling. So
Yeah.
that's why I knew today it was going to be Randall all over again.
Yeah. And I mean, without Randall, I think we win this game by a much larger margin, honestly. Because remember, this is a game we're playing. They didn't have their two best players. They didn't have Jeremy Grant and they didn't have Amadou Diallo. And the Pistons were still able to find a way to make it a extremely competitive game and close in the last minutes. And maybe I just don't see what we can do to try to get Julius Randle in line without moving on from the coach. So, it kind of brings us to this dilemma. We're going to have to move on from one of them, I think, in the offseason. I just don't see how the two can continue to be in the same locker room. Thibs continues to enable Julius Randle. The fact that Thibs was able to see the young guys play, move the ball, play free, and then reinsert Julius Randle into the starting lineup and allow us to kind of, gravitate back to that ball stopping way of basketball. To me, you just have to make a change somewhere. And, it might be easier to move on from the coach than trading a Julius Randle whose value might be depressed. And we'll talk about some potential deals that may be in the talks later on in the show.
Yeah. But I think Thibs is like, what do you mean? I played him 31 minutes. I'm listening to everybody. It's not like I played him 40 minutes. But getting back to Thibs again, in that last game, again, shout out my friend D that with like 9 minutes left in the second quarter, he says, watch Grimes. So I rewinded second quarter, 9 minutes. He's grimacing. And I'm like, oh my God, they should have shut this kid down for the whole season. I said to you, Thibs this year went from a bad coach to a dangerous coach, playing RJ in garbage time. And I'm like, this kid is like, hey, I really love this kid, Grimes. I think he's an important part of our future. Do not mess with knees in this league. So, when they said he was out today, I was like, wow, I thought maybe that was just an anomaly seeing that in the game, but that knee was hurting him. They should have shut him down for the year because you can't ask a player. Players are like fighting for their spot. They'll always say, no, you can put me in, coach. But the smart thing was to just hopefully they won't play him for the rest of the year.
Yeah, hopefully it's nothing major with Grimes, but he suffered a subluxation of the right patella. And I've spoken to few people in the medical field, and that injury has a high reoccurrence rate. So the fact that he's still feeling some pain or some tenderness in that area is a little bit concerning. Hopefully he's able to rest and it won't be much about it. But you see him out there with the brace, and the brace is to try and help to give stability to that patella so it doesn't skip the track once again. So hopefully, that's the same thing I wanted to say. I hope that when he returned, he was going to be eased in. And for the most part, I won't say Thibs has been overplaying him, but maybe they just brought him back a little bit too soon. Maybe they should have waited another week or so before they brought him back, especially since he's starting to have a little bit of a flare up. But I'm glad you did bring up Grimes there, Foxy.
Yeah, well, he played almost 16 minutes. So, and he's a dog, so he knows that defense is intense and stuff like that. And so, I hope he's well. Like you said a few shows ago when you talked to your friend, he says that injury, the dislocation of the kneecap like that is, it can reoccur. I'm like, oh no, please, please, please.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's another player on his team with a injury that has a high reoccurrence rate.
Yep. Hey, can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, feel free.
Did you notice Cam on the bench at all anywhere?
No, I didn't see Cam. Mm-mm.
Okay. Because I was wondering, SV Nation, did anyone? Because I've been like saying, I know, with his shoulder and anything, but that shouldn't prevent him from being with the team.
And also walked right into the super chat from Buzzer Beater. Thank you. He said, where does Cam fit in all of this? Do we keep him? Now, we're going to dive into Cam a little bit deeper further on in the show. But to answer your question, I hope we keep him. I think Cam could be a major contributor to this team. If you look at this lineup or this roster and you say, what is this team missing? It's an athletic big wing. And Cam checks all those boxes. So for him to be healthy and available, he's someone that I think can also help move RJ from the 3 back to his natural position at the 2. And to me, that's what I'm hoping for. That's the big picture for me. So hopefully when Cam is able to get healthy, this team decides not to do anything rash and try to move on from him in the offseason, but actually gives him the opportunity to make a name for himself here in New York. Foxy?
Yeah, the same way, man. When we were in desperate need, we've all been screaming that we need a 6'8", with a 7-foot wingspan wing, both on, like you said, he has all the tools. And this is, the perfect guy for RJ to have, be a tandem. So, yeah, I was so upset that he got hurt, but because I would have loved to see him playing during this stretch. But yeah, I definitely want to see. They're so hard to come by. Forget about this draft. There's really no 6'8" guys like that. There's some 6'8" guys that can play Terry Easton and stuff that can play defense, but they don't have his game. It'll be years. So, you look at what they did for the trade. It was a real smart move. There's nobody in this draft and looking around the league. So hopefully that shoulder will come back. Hopefully it's not like you just said about Grimes, a reoccurring thing that'll be popping out. Hey, Grimes.
Well, the thing with Cam is you do worry a little bit about arthritis starting to happen in the joint where the acromion meets the clavicle, because that's the joint in which he had the separation, the AC joint. So you do worry about some arthritis, but the fact that they're going the conservative route and they're not electing to do surgery, you kind of minimize that risk of him developing arthritis. You might see it may look a little bit deformed depending on how much it was displaced, but for the most part, I think there shouldn't be any type of long-term impact to his game. There's not going to be any issues with range of motion or anything like that.
Yeah, it's always weird when you see someone have that weird bump or something. Like, yo.
Yeah. He might end up having that, especially if there's no surgery. Also, we got a special guest, our guy Kenny Payne. He says there's a mutiny on Thibs and Randle. Congrats on your job at Louisville.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was going, yeah, Kenny, best of luck at Louisville. And yeah, there's a mutiny on Thibs and Randle, but like he said a few seconds ago, Kenny, I don't know whether I think only one's going to go, so it may end up being Thibs. I don't think it'll be Thibs. It may be Randle.
Yeah, Sincere the Genius, he agrees with you. He said they need to shut down Grimes and Randle. Wayne Peterson also agrees. I would shut down Grimes. Let's see. Troy Flett says Cam's not going to be with the team anymore. He's rehabbing. I hear you, but there's other guys that are injured and they're still showing up to games. I wouldn't expect him at road games. I don't think he would travel with the team, but I'd be interested to see if he's on the bench at the home games.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, we mentioned Bagley, but I really like Bagley. He's a guy I would have wanted the Knicks to pursue if we didn't have Julius Randle and Obi already on the team, because I like his game. He's able to score from 3 levels. He's athletic when he attacks the basket, and he was giving Julius Randle the business. He was 11 to 14 from the field, 1 or 2 from the 3-point line. That's good for 27 points and 7 rebounds. Also had a block.
What is it when they get out of jail in Sacramento, man? They find their game, man. It's like, get me out of here. And wow, man, it was like, yeah, I knew he had length and everything for him, watching him in college and stuff. But it was like, yo, man, he had a very nice game. But also, I'm sure for him, it's great to go against a guy who's not putting any effort on the defensive front that the defenders. So meaning Randle wasn't doing anything. So he let him eat.
Yeah. All right, Foxy. Well, over the last week or so, we saw a few games in which the team played the youth. We didn't have Julius Randle, and we got to see the young guys actually get some high quality minutes. And I think a lot of the guys impressed. If you look at what they were able to do in the last 3 games, not including the Pistons game, but in the last 3 games before that, without Randle, you can see all of the guys had positive plus minuses. Quick had the highest. Well, no, I'm sorry. Sims had the highest at 9.7, followed by Quick at 8. Then you see Obi at 4.7, Deuce at 3.7, and then Quentin Grimes at 2.3. So you look at some of the guys, Deuce, Grimes, they don't have the biggest, statistics when it comes to accumulation, but their minutes out there on the court, they at least helped this team, win, build leads and things like that. So I was excited to see those guys out there on the court together. And I think each one showed me something that that kind of surprised me. You saw Quick, he had the offensive explosion when he was able to go off for the 20 points. Deuce once again played solid defense, and he's look at how he's been shooting. He shot 54.5% from the field, and he shot 55.6% from the 3-point line. And a lot of people were looking at him playing in the G League, and they were saying he couldn't replicate that in the NBA. And I'm not sitting here saying he is going to replicate, that type of performance, but the efficiency still there. It hasn't left him. You look at Grimes, he hasn't played too many minutes. He's averaging 14.2, and he was coming back off of injury, but he was still active out there on defense, made solid rotations. We saw our guy Obi finally got some minutes, and he produced 14.3 points per game, 8.7 rebounds per game, 3 assists per game, and I believe he only averaged 0.7 turnovers. So you look at a guy in Obi who can average 3 assists, only turn over the ball 0.7 times per game. That's a guy that you can, asked to do a little bit more on offense. Yes, he has to work on his game, but he needs the minutes and he needs the floor time. You look at the minutes he played today with Julius Randle coming back. I think he only played 17 minutes.
Yeah,
he
think
played 17 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, based on ESPN, it says 17.
Yeah, they rounded off,
rounded up. So you see him drop from 35.7 all the way down to 17, especially when he was putting up those kinds of stats. I just don't understand, especially in a game where Julius Randle didn't have a great first half, To me, you see what these guys can do when they're given opportunities, and to have a game like, we saw against the Pistons where some of these guys weren't able to continue to build upon that, it's a little frustrating for me.
Yeah, on Obi, we always say Randall's 20-10-5, 20-10-5, 14-8-3, or almost 9-3, and that you're saying to yourself, you know what? We don't need, if we move the ball and stuff like that, I don't need Randle for assists, and the 6-point differential on points between 20 and 14. Let RJ or somebody else, to get that dispersed. So the goodness, like you said, without the turnovers, the movement, the energy, all of that, that was fantastic. And just a couple other stats since February 6th. This is the last 3 games, folks. But since February 16th, IQ 15.2 points per game, 5 rebounds per game. Like Keith was saying, he's fantastic. He's just been tearing it up on the rebounding side. 3.8 assists. He's shooting 48% from field goal, 43% from 3, and 90% from the foul line. So, which is intense. And then getting to my boy, or our boy, Deuce, since the All-Star break. First of all, shout out to Fred Katz for that last one, and this one's Tommy Beer shout out. Since the All-Star break, the Knicks have outscored their opponents by 90 points in the 151 minutes that Deuce has been on the floor. And that's the highest plus-minus among players who've played less than 200 minutes. And New York has been outscored by 40 points when McBride's on the bench. So that tenacious defense you just mentioned, he didn't score today, but every game you just see, the last game, that gorgeous cross court pass to RJ, the way he's seeing the game, sees the floor. I actually think that Deuce has more natural instincts to be a point guard than Quick. So, but together, they're dynamite, man. They could pick you up 94 feet on defense. Just the way they're working and stuff like that, the camaraderie they're building. We talked about Grimes, elite 3-point shooter. I'm sorry he got hurt, but Sims' rebounding is fantastic. His energy is fantastic. Pardon me, that, more time and more side things where quickly, and the guys are saying no here. I don't know if they were talking about offense and stuff, but Sims was part of that discussion. This is just really, really impressive, and something about hope. Hey, folks, when we go through a season like this, hope is everything. It brings you to tomorrow. When you look at these kids, we have hope.
Yeah, that's a fact, Foxy. Let's see. Bayside Junior says 17 minutes is actually good for Deuce considering it's Thibs. I was surprised he didn't get benched. If Grimes was playing, does Grimes get those Deuce minutes and McBride gets a DMP? Well, if Grimes is available, you probably see, he probably cutting into Deuce minutes a little bit, because right in this game, Thibs went with a 9-man rotation. There was no minutes for Taj, no minutes for Ryan A. So yeah, if Grimes were healthy, you'd probably see a cut in Deuce's minutes.
Yeah. We have another super chat from our friend Buzzer Beater.
Do we? Let me where? Okay. Here we go. Thank you, Buzzer Beater, for the super chat. He says over under 40 games till Thibs is fired next season. Honestly, that's a loaded question because it all depends on what we do in the offseason. If the roster stays as is, then yes, Thibs is probably going to get fired in under 40 days. I mean, 40 games. Well, maybe under 40 days too. Who knows? But yeah.
I like the way you roll.
Yeah, he definitely is not going to last 40 games. I don't see it. If we're going to run the same style of offense, you're going to see, maybe he might give the younger guys a little bit more minutes like we're seeing with Quick. But then again, there's also evidence that they won't see an extended play because you look at what we're seeing from Obi. Obi hasn't hit 20 minutes. How many games has Obi hit 20 minutes in a game where Randle has played?
I was about to say he only gets 20 minutes when Randle doesn't play.
Yeah, you can probably count that on one hand. So that's crazy, man.
Yeah, but I'm really starting to feel that they're going to get rid of Randle in the offseason and keep Thibs.
I'm open to that because one of them has to go. If they're sold on Thibs, then at least move on from Julius Randle, free us from that contract, and then with Thibs, you can always move on from Thibs at any point. It doesn't hurt our cap, so no skin off my back.
And we'll touch on this in a little while, folks.
Yep, in a few minutes as well. Will Salkin says that graphics/chart is amazing. Thank you, appreciate it. Feel free to screenshot and share on your socials.
Hey, Will, hope all is well. Quick shout out.
Boss says, "Oh no, go ahead. Do what you gotta do."
Just wanted to do a quick shout out that we have 100 people in the chat. We have 43 likes, so do us a favor and hit those likes, hit the subscribe, hit that all reminder bell so you don't miss out on any of the wonderful content from Sports Vibe TV. Again, 2 wonderful videos in the last few days on Quickly and the young kids. Please check it out. Please share the link on your favorite social media platforms. And as always, shout out to the best mods on the planet. We appreciate all you do. And just real quick, I'll say hello, but we'll answer your questions a little later. But Prezi the Boss, Sincere the Genius, our field producer, we surveyed 100 people, Lex the Destroyer, Will Salkin, like we just said, Bayside Jr., Splashing 12, Kevin McLeod, hope all is well, Still Dre, Troy Flett, like you said, the one, the only Geraldine McIver, my friend Justin L. I don't know if he's here. Also, Janine V. D is ballin'. D is poetic. Professor D, my good friend D. I love that guy. Wilson Dang, DBR, Adele Chapman. Just all the regulars, man. We just appreciate all your support. And we'll be getting into DeCoulis 718 again. We'll be getting into all of your questions in a little while. But thanks so much for your support. It's been a long season, and Keith and I feel so blessed to have you, as friends and also just supporting the channel. Yep, and also, just one last thing, that we're only a couple hundred away from 6,000 subscribers. So if you have subscribed, thank you so much, but please tell a friend, and if you haven't, please hit that subscribe button.
Thank you, appreciate that. Foxy, want to give a shout out to Prezi the Boss. He says my ideal squad: Money Mitch, Obi, Cam, RJ, Ivy. Then off the bench you've got Bamba, Sims, Grimes, IQ, and Deuce. Bring back Pinson, and the rest of the bench. Bring back Pinson, and the rest of the bench will be whoever we get from selling the vets in draft. I mean, I think I like that because you can play Bamba and Sims together because they play Wendell Carter Jr. and Bamba together. So I think you look at Bamba, the effect that he can knock down the three, and he also can give you some level of rim protection. You see Sims, you mentioned him and the energy he's able to provide this team. He's very active. I think Rit Holtzman posted a film breakdown just showing how he's able to dive to the basket repeatedly, and it helps with the spacing a little bit more than you see when Mitch is out there, because Mitch, for the most part, if he's not setting the screen and being involved in the play, he's normally just stationary under the rim for the most part, and that there's some issues sometimes when Julius Randle or RJ is trying to drive, because at times Mitch's defender may be there in position to help. So I think, you have a guy like Bamba, you have a guy like Sims. Some people view Sims as a power forward. How do you feel about that?
Absolutely. Well, in today's league, but he's 6'9". I think he's 6'9" and change. They round him off and make him 6'10". But
it's hard to tell him with the hair. It's hard to tell with the hair, man.
You got that right. So yeah, absolutely. And more like old-fashioned power forward, but nonetheless, yeah. But like we said, his rebounding and stuff like that. But on that one for Prezi, how did we get Ivy, by the way, in that
Yeah.
lineup? You know,
Instead of my ideal squad, it should have been my dream squad.
yeah, for sure. But
Sincere the
thanks.
Genius says, I think Deuce and Grimes are going to tear up the Summer League next season. I believe so as well. Hopefully Grimes is fully recuperated. Hopefully I'm able to, get down to Vegas and watch them again. I enjoyed my time down there. The NBA puts on a fantastic product. You really get close to the players. You're not on the court or anything, but you're close enough to see them and actually gauge, their size, their length, and things like that. So I'm definitely hoping I'm going to be able to make my way out there again to see whoever the Knicks decide to draft in the upcoming
Oh,
draft.
that was great. You met, Mitch last year coming
Yeah.
back.
Mm-hmm.
You were so happy you started singing, and my dog started barking.
I had to serenade the Lakers fans as they were leaving the arena.
I know, it was wonderful.
Facts. All right, let's see. So let's move ahead into a little story I saw. This one was coming from regarding a trade for Julius Randle, and there's some potential targets in the upcoming some potential trade targets in the offseason. So one of them would have been Malcolm Brogdon, another one would have been Harrison Barnes, and then we have Jeremy Grant. Now, if you were to try and move off of Julius Randle in the offseason, who would you try and acquire if these three were the only options available to you, Foxy?
Harrison Barnes.
Harrison
Barnes number one, Jeremy Grant's two, and I wouldn't do Brogdon at all. And it's only two reasons: his contract, and his contract goes, I think, it goes out there, and his injury history. But Barnes, free and clear after next season. So he shoots. And the same thing as Grant, exactly. But Grant, as you can see, is not much of a rebounder at the four. He's a good defender, but I think Harrison Barnes, he could be helpful with this team. He's a pro and stuff like that. He shoots the three still very well, and so that would be, it's not a sexy pick and stuff like that, but get him off the books. Get rid of Randle. Get Harrison Barnes. Will be functional for 1 year, and then we have that $20 million to think about in 2023 free agency.
Yeah, so in the article, this was from NBAanalyst.net. They said the Knicks could even try and do a deal in which we get Brogdon and Turner. To me, I just don't see how we'll make that money work. Would have to include players like Evan Fournier, which I'm not against. But, you bring in a guy like Brogdon and a guy like Turner. I mean, they couldn't turn it around in Indiana. I don't know if bringing those two in as a combo would benefit us immensely. Harrison Barnes, he's another guy that's interesting. You look at the points per game, 16.8 points per game, 5.8 rebounds, 2.5. He can knock down the three. He can play some defense. And also he's got, championship pedigree. So I would be interested in that deal. Me personally, I don't know if these are the three guys I would target if I wanted to move off of a Julius Randle.
They're all 30 years old. Yeah,
exactly. And if I had to pick one, maybe I'd probably say Harrison Barnes, because he's one I can rely on a little bit more to knock down the three. And I think spacing is extremely important, especially when you got a guy like RJ Barrett, who's a slasher and trying to get into the paint and finish. So if I had to pick one, it would be Harrison Barnes. And like I said, like you said, I'm sold out on Brogdon, that injury history, that contract. And, he's another one, point guard-ish. He's like another pseudo point guard, if you ask me.
I thought was weird in that article, Keys, is like they're saying, Harrison Barnes, and potentially they'd put in Rashawn Holmes. And I'm like, look at his contract. That's the contract we want to give to a Mitch. So he's like getting about 13 million for X amount of years. And we're like saying, yeah, that's the Robert, Williams contract. So it's like, why do we want to get Rashawn Holmes? Why can't we just pay Mitch, keep him here, and go from there? So, so out of these three, like we said, Barnes is the most attractive, and forget about Brogdon, man. You're on mute. Can't. Ooh.
My bad. Moving Julius Randle for one of these three is more so trying to get rid of the additional 4 years on his contract. That's the basis of this move. Not really to get better. And I think if I'm
Exactly.
moving Julius Randle, I'm trying to get better, not only just move the remaining portion of his contract. Because honestly, the contract's not terrible. I think he's going to make what, 23, $24 million next season, because he's not going to hit some of his incentives. So if I can move him for another player that makes us better and gets paid right around the same amount, I'm not going to be upset about that. So if I'm moving Julius Randle, it's to make this team better. Because I've been saying it. I think Julius Randle is a talented player. He's just not in the right headspace, it seems like, here in New York. I don't know what went wrong. Things must have soured with the fans at some point, or he's not liking it here in New York for him to be, acting the way he's been acting. But, if he gets his mind right, I still think he has the physical tools to be a decent player in the league. And I think he can contribute, not to the level maybe that we saw last season, but maybe a step or two below that. And I think that's still a decent enough performance for $23 million a season. I think there's players that are getting that are paid right around there and aren't all-star caliber players. So if he's fringe all-star ish, then I'm perfectly fine with paying him that amount of money. It's just, how do we get him to get his mind right and get to be recommitted to this team and to this franchise? And if we're unable to do that, then we got to just move on. We got to cut ties.
I personally think that it's a addition through subtraction. We have to get rid of him. I don't think that bad behavior, meaning if Kenny Payne and Johnny Bryant and Thibs, obviously with their relationship, if they can't get him out of that, and like you said today, not playing defense, arguing with refs, inefficient, bad shots, when it counted, I'll put up, even without getting a quality player, if we can get rid of his contract and get a player that we get rid of in 1 year, then we can get the players that we want. So I'll sacrifice just getting him off this team so RJ and the young players could develop without any of his distractions. And, he's very disruptive.
Yeah, free up the money so we can then go shopping again in 2023, correct?
Yeah, and I keep saying that Joker is a free agent in 2023. There's, I think, the largest Serbian population here in New York and Queens and stuff like that. Come on, Joker, come to New York, man. Play with our kids. Hey, it only took one guy, Kawhi, to change a tough team like Toronto into things. We got some dogs over here now. Come on, we can get one elite player. Everything can change quick.
Sincere the Genius says, don't forget the 15% trade kicker. Well, that's not for us to worry about. That's for the other team to worry about, right?
But I was about to say, I'll start a GoFundMe page right now. It's like, folks, let's get this dude out of here, man.
Quick pass and in a hurry.
Yeah.
We got a super chat from Buzzerbeater. Thank you once again. He says,
thanks
Obi's
so much.
Career, Kenny Skywalker or Blake Griffin? I could see Obi filling that Blake Griffin role up. Blake, he was able to knock down the mid-range, so I'd like to see Obi hit that a little bit more consistently to put him in the Blake Griffin mode. But I see that the athleticism and his form is nice enough for him to knock down the perimeter shot consistently. We just need him to continue to work on it and get there.
Yeah. Hey, against the Hornets, not today, but he faked the three, did a dribble, and did that pull-up midi.
Yes.
That was gorgeous, man. I saw that and I said, Obi, I'll take back everything I ever said. You do that. You start hitting middies like that. I'm not worried about the three. You didn't do it at Dayton. You put him in positions, Thibs, this year, over the last couple of years, where he didn't do that in college. Why would they do it in pros? Put him in a position to be, and he's a good passer too. They don't put him in the positions to do that. So I see him growing. So I see much more of the trajectory of Blake Griffin, buzzer beater, than Skywalker.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about the passing, like we said earlier, pretty much a 3-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. If a point guard with that type of assist to turnover ratio is probably all-star caliber, right?
Yep, and he had a beautiful block today. So yeah, those are the things. And like we said, he's a blink away from with real minutes 20, 10, and 5.
Yeah. Kevin McLeod says, my boys, Cornerstone Kev is here. Salute, Cornerstone. Appreciate you tuning in.
Yep. Hope all is well. Hope, I don't know if his buddy, G-Man, Sergeant Knicks, G-Man for life, one of my good friends, one of the nicest guys, They have the Pod Couple. So if you haven't subscribed, shout out to Freezy and Miss Mocha. Please subscribe to Cornerstone Kev and all the guys over at Lawrence Tears.
Facts. Geraldine McIver, salute Geraldine. Thank you for tuning in. She says no one is coming here to play for Thibs, and I wouldn't blame him. You see the way Thibs is screaming on the sideline, and you see the way he's divvying up the minutes. If I'm a young guy with talent, I don't know if I'm coming here. Look at what we're doing with Cam. We traded for Cam. Cam's been shelved, and when he finally comes, unfortunately for him, he gets injured, and now we won't see him for God knows how long.
Love you, Geraldine. Hey, we heard it a few weeks ago with Richard Jefferson. He's the worst coach for any young player in this league. So no one's coming here to play for Thibs, especially if you're young.
Mm-hmm. You're young. He either won't play you, or he'll play you 40 some odd minutes in garbage time and put you at risk of injuring yourself. Just ask RJ.
Yeah, he'll play D Rose though.
Speaking of Thibs, it's a nice time to segue. Thibs, he was attacking the fans, man. I don't know what got into this guy, but he was condescending, he was arrogant, and I think at the press conference, it pretty much shows you why this team has struggled, because this guy, it feels like he's above reproach at this point. He feels like he knows more than us, so we can't have any opinions on the game. He's saying, we don't watch the game 2-3 times, as if we don't take, personal time out of our life to kind of study the game and learn more about our favorite team. Thibs, he's studying film because he's getting paid millions of dollars. We're studying film because we just enjoy the game. Honestly, we don't really call it studying. It's just watching my team.
Passion.
I'm a passionate Knicks fan, so I'm going to watch my team over and over again and try to see what they can do to get things right. And, it's the best way for me to formulate an opinion. How am I going to come to a concise opinion if I don't really understand what's going on out there on the court? So before I try and say anything, I have to watch the game 1 or 2 times. And then I might even throw up a edited video where I'm breaking down film and discussing the game. So for him to go out there and talk about fans as if we don't know anything and all we do is turn on the game for 2.5 hours and then cut it off and don't think Knicks again, I think he's extremely misinformed. And I think, if he wants to come on a podcast and talk about the Knicks and talk about the passion we have as Knicks fans, he's welcome to come on here and talk to us.
Yeah. I resent it. Shout out to our brother George from Into the Knicks Verse. If you haven't subscribed,
George,
he's a blink away from 5,000. Please, folks, let's get our guy hit that 5,000 metric. But hey, we're all of us, myself and you and George and Diaz Ball and all these people, we have Cleaning the Glass. We have all of this stuff. So all these analytics, hey, he should be a politician because he lies to the people. He lies right to our freaking face. That Burks is the best solution. No. The numbers don't show that at point guard. And he just lies, and Berman saying, and he's not wrong. I won't go into there, but the nitpick and stuff like that. I love Knicks fans. They're really cool. I think Knicks fans only get intense if you keep doing it. If you keep having bad plays out, off of timeouts, they're going to get upset. If you're showing favoritism for a guy with bad behavior, and yet you'll yank Obi and a Deuce in a second, they're not going to dig that. I don't think that's nitpicking. And it's like saying your rotations, you're a cooler. Guy's hot, and you take them out. One thing after the other. I love Knicks fans. They're the smartest, I think, in the league. So I resent his attitude that no, we support our team, but we just don't put up with stupid bullshit. And we've had to put up with this stuff all year. And I didn't like a lot of the stuff last year. And I keep saying, hey, he's 25-36 in his career in the playoffs, 2-8 in his last stuff. He's incapable of mid-game adjustments. So look in the mirror, Thibs, man. Don't look at the fans nitpicking and this and that. Just look in the mirror when there is a problem.
And it's not that we're nitpicking. A lot of the times we're going off what you're saying. In the press conference, he's talking about God, the fans love someone that, does one good thing and then does 9 negative things. Well, Thibs, say that about yourself. Look at what Julius Randle is doing. He's averaging like 3-4 turnovers a game, and you're in love with him. And it's like he's above reproach. You don't do anything. You don't pull him to the side. You don't bark at him like we've seen you bark at RJ. He was screaming at RJ to pass the ball. Where are you screaming at Julius Randle to pass the ball when he's going pecan? And then also he's throwing the young guys under the bus. He's talking about, the young legs were, this is in reference to the Miami Heat game. So the young guys were on the court in the first half. We didn't make much noise. So don't bring up, the young guys being on the court in the fourth as if he's trying to say, hey, it's not just them. Well, yes, it was them in that game. We saw Quick, we saw Grimes, and we saw Deuce lock up the Miami Heat, a team that's vying for an NBA championship. And if we would have deployed those three guys much earlier in the season, maybe we're having a completely different conversation right now. But because he decided not to do that and continue to pull out Alec Burks, who, granted, Alec Burks did come up with a key stop today, but we've seen games where Alec Burks has been futile on defense. He's been attacked time and time again, and he made no adjustments. Evan Fournier, same with him. I showed, countless clips in the video I uploaded today of him getting beat on defense. If he would have deployed some of these young guys, maybe we're in a better position right now. We're not worried about, lottery odds or playing. Maybe we're actually legitimately in the playoff discussion, but he decided not to do that. And then now when he's getting pressed on it, he's deciding to deflect and attack the fans. To me, that's not the sign of a leader. To me, that's not the sign of a coach. And I think this is a lot. This has all coincides with Worldwide West working in the front office and saying the reason we struggled so much this season is the fact that Thibs hasn't played the young guys. So it would not be good for Thibs to now come to the press conference and just confirm what Worldwide West is saying to James Dolan. Because if James Dolan starts to listen to Worldwide West, they might revisit Tom Thibodeau being able to stay and coach the team next season.
Yeah, I'm with you. Hey, nothing, sometimes some funny things that are not meant to be funny is post games, like you just said a few minutes ago, was like, Julius was terrific. And it's like, he had 6 turnovers. I've never heard a coach say a guy had a terrific game with 6 turnovers.
Right.
So it's absolutely ridiculous. And he's not going to change. So this is who he is, and we'll see the different players will put together. But like I said, he doesn't have his finger on the pulse of a game, doesn't feel the flow. He's just, as our brother JD says, his template coaching that he's so regimented. No, I got to make this substitution now. The guy's hot. Nope. He does it and, screams at, jumped up in the air. He calls a timeout. They're up by 11, calls a timeout, and screams at Sims for a missed defensive assignment. They could have handled that differently. I just don't think he's right. And, hey, IQ has played, he has a lot of young guys on this team. So a lot of young guys have played over the last couple of years with Thibs. But, I shared with, we're coming to the end of the season, and I think you could tell in my voice, it's an honor to work with Keith. I love this guy. And I shared with him,
you too, Foxy.
I shared with him, like, just looking back, that 3 months ago on a Sunday stream, Keith and I behind the scenes, we coined development and defense. And Keith came up with this wonderful thumbnail. And 3 months later, it's like, we're part of the SV Nation. Like, we were saying this all along, because these aren't regular rookies. These are rookies that play NBA level, elite level defense, and that I can't wait till they get even better on defense once they learn to go around a couple times, know the tendency of the players and stuff. So we were zeroed in 3 months ago that this was the right thing for the development. And so you and I are saying to ourselves, if these kids had a couple more months of development under their thing, McBride, his offensive game would be there. He's going to have a good offensive game, folks. He didn't have it today, but believe me, he's going to have it. He's just, these kids versus other guys that we talked about, they're more afraid sometimes of making a mistake than just let it rip. So, and that's why I quickly taking him under his wing and like saying, don't worry about Thibs. I'll hang out with you. I got Tibbs' ear and stuff like that. So, I just wish they listened to you, me, and the SV Nation several months ago, because we'd be far. I don't know if our record be much different, but the development going into next year would be exponential. You're on mute again.
I think our record would be different. Do you think the young guys are going to allow us to give up 20 some odd point leads?
I'm with you. With
the defense alone, it would have been we would have been in a much better position. So I think record wise, we would have seen, this team in a better position. What was the game in which, Tibbs, you mentioned the template coaching, where he sat Emmanuel Quickly when Quickly was the only one cooking, put Alec Burks in, and then they asked him, why'd you put in Alec Burks? He said, I had to get my starters in. Why? Why did you have to get your starters in? Where in the NBA rule book does it say
Sanity.
you have to get your starters in at a certain point in the fourth quarter? No. You have starters, and then you have closers. You close with the guys that are performing best on the court. And at that point, Quick was one of the guys that was carrying this team, and you decided to take him out, and we ended up losing that game.
Yeah, it's so we'll see what the front office does in the off season, and hopefully, like we said, Randle won't be here, but I think he should have a warning and say, hey, if you don't, play the kids and do something else, he has to show that he could evolve. If he's going to be the same coach next year, making these bad rotations, all these other things, we don't need him, man.
But do you really look at Tibbs as a coach that's going to be willing to evolve?
No, he can't. He showed it this year that he spent some time with Morey when he lost the job, and he went around the league trying to learn. And what did we see? He's the same old dude, man. Old dog, you can't, he has all these analytics, and he talks to us like we're stupid, like you don't have analytics either.
Right? Like we're not looking at the same numbers. He doesn't have any special numbers.
He don't.
Looking at the same thing we're looking at, and we're looking at the same film. I'm not going to sit and act like I know as much basketball as Tibbs. I wouldn't disrespect him like that, but don't act like we know nothing. Don't act like we can't sit here, look at the game and say this offense looks nothing like you see from a modern NBA offense. We went against the NBA Warriors, and they were moving off ball. They had us spinning around in the same spot looking confused. So the fact that we have this team where everybody's pretty much stagnant, standing in the same spot, waiting for somebody to dribble the air out the ball, it doesn't take rocket science to see that on the court and be able to diagram that. I mean, it's not that difficult. Even if you're only watching the game once, you can point that out. You can just watch the highlight and go back to it and say, all right, I don't really feel like this is going to be, this doesn't put us in a good position to score or reach the objective, which is to make a bucket. So for him to go out there and say that about us, I think was extremely disrespectful, and he's kind of undervaluing the fans in this position right now, in his position. Because if you look at what a lot of these media companies are doing, they're pulling fans and they're saying, hey, the fans might know a little bit more than the analysts, and they're putting them in position. Look at John Boy. They just got linked up with the Yes Network. So maybe Tibbs, this is just another example of him being out of touch with the way things are trending nowadays, where fans have more access to, stats, have more access to film, and therefore you have fans that are much more educated about the game of basketball. And, we still have that passion. We're Knicks fans. We love our team. The fact that we're watching games 2-3 times, and, my entire lifetime, the Knicks have never been good, and I'm still dedicating that time. And he's going to sit here and say and act like we don't know anything. I think that was ridiculous. I think that was disrespectful of him. And I think it kind of mirrors what Julius Randle did with the thumbs down. This is Tom Thibodeau's thumb down moment.
Exactly. And you know what? All the film that we've looked at together behind the scenes, where we're like, he literally took that play off on defense. I swear to God that if I was Dolan or something, call Tibbs into him, show him that play. And if Tibbs came up with an excuse, he should be fired on the spot. I'd rather Tibbs say, you're right. He took that play off, and that's what we have. I'm trying to get him to the player that I want him to be. But yeah, he loses it during games, his focus, and like you said, not my unhelped defense, not my player, not my problem. And it's so evident. And so if he could come up, there's not a way in the world that he can have an excuse for that. So don't tell us we're stupid. Our eyes don't lie, man.
Yeah. Just a couple chats I want to get to. Adele Chapman had a pretty good question. He says, Bamba or Wiseman, who has the bigger upside? I think Wiseman has the bigger upside, but he has much larger risk because he can't even get on the court right now, still dealing with the recuperation of his of the torn meniscus in his knee. So I think Wiseman definitely has the larger upside between him and Bamba, but Bamba I think is the more surefire signing or move.
Yeah, I agree with you, but also, like I said a week ago, he played one game at Memphis. He hasn't really played a lot, this kid. He is really, and Bamba on the other side, he's could be a little injury prone, but shoots the three. You can't teach his length and everything for shot blocking and stuff like that. I think, I'd actually like Bamba a little better. Weissman scares me, man.
Yeah, Wiseman scares me as well with the health concerns, but I think when you look at the physical talents, I think Wiseman definitely wins out.
Hmm. But meaning,
Also, oh, go ahead.
just meaning that they're the best development organization. If Golden State can't make you the best you can be, I don't know another organization that's gonna.
Yeah, that's a fact. Buzzer beater, but another super chat. Thank you for your support. We appreciate it. It says over under Hawks lose 5 games the rest of the season. So I was able to pull up the Hawks schedule. They've got games coming up against the Pacers, Thunder, Cavs, Nets, Raptors, Wizards, Heat, and Rockets. So I think they're gonna beat the Pacers. I think they're gonna beat the Thunder. Cav is a toss-up. Nets, they'll probably lose. Kyrie can now play, but then again, that's a road game. You look at the Raptors, that'll be an interesting game. Wizards, I think they'll win.
Yep.
Heat,
And the
that'll be
Rocket.
close. And then the Rockets, so that's 4. Yeah, I don't see them losing. That's 4 of the last 8. So I don't see them losing 5 games.
Yeah, because I think what 4.5 with 7 to go. We're 4.5 behind with 7 to go. And look at our schedule too. We're not going to run the. I doubt we're going to run the table, man.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a little too late.
Thanks, Buzzer. We appreciate all your generosity.
Yep, we appreciate it. Let's see what else we got going on. All right, let's jump ahead. Get into some other news that was being reported. Our guy Zion, well, he's not our guy yet, but the way the media says that he's our guy, he's in the story once again. Amin Hassan was on a podcast, and he had this to say. It says, the real story you're trying to hide from us isn't Zion isn't going so well in New Orleans, and isn't Zion is unhappy in New Orleans, Al Hassan said on Basketball Illuminati. The story they're trying to hide from you is Zion is destined to be a New York Knickerbocker. Zion Williamson is represented by CAA. El Hassan said, out in New York, you got Leon Rose, formerly a CAA. He's the president of basketball ops. He's assisted by William Wesley, also a former CAA person. Their head coach, Tom Thibodeau, is a CAA client as well. Look through their roster at the number of CAA players they have. That's just the bare basic formulaic level at the top of how this franchise is so heavily influenced by this agency that desperately wants to move this client to a bigger platform. So the noise keeps perking up and up and up between Zion and, being traded possibly to the New York Knicks. The last time we heard, rumors, swirling time and time again, connecting a player to the Knicks, it was Cam Reddish. You heard a few rumors about the Knicks potentially checking in on Cam Reddish, and it ended up happening. So
you're ahead of the curve, man.
Yeah, man. I reached out to my insiders, quote unquote. But do you see Zion Williamson as a legitimate option for the New York Knicks? I mean, we see him doing between the leg dunks. Looks like he's shed some weight and he's trying to get fit and get back at the game shape. So do you think the Knicks, if Zion is available, should try and pursue?
Now, the reason why I have this friend Keith, I don't know if you know him. He does this brilliant medical thing about the fifth metatarsal, and I need to see him play a whole year before I trade for him. I'd be just too leery to say, hey, let's go all in on this guy with his size and with him losing weight. And I've said this before, everything I did from draft, from seeing this kid in high school and up, he's a wonderful kid. So this is a really quality kid. But I'm just worried from a business decision that let him play. It was like we said, they shouldn't have given Julius, let him play 1 year to see if he did it 2 years in a row. Let's see Zion can play 1 year without that injury reoccurring, and then let's go get him. But I don't want to. Hey, I'm old. I lived through Antonio McDyess. I don't want to have a trade for a player that we having all these hopes and like, oh my God, he didn't last 20 games. You're mute.
Totally agree with you, Fox. I got to get this mute button under control. But I totally agree with you, Foxy. If we're going to make a move for a Zion Williamson, I have to see him on the court. I cannot give up the amount of assets it would cost the Knicks to try and bring in Zion if we don't even know if he'll be able to stay on the court, long term. We know this is an injury in which it has a high reoccurrence rate. Some people say 30%, some people say 40%. And you look at Zion, you look at the amount of impact he puts on his feet with the way he's explosive, both jumping and landing. So to invest what it would cost us to try and bring him in, I'm skeptical. I would have to see him come back, be able to play, and still be able to be the dominant figure that we saw when he was out there on the court, because he is a special talent, one of those transcendent players that they don't come around often. And if he is going to be available, then the Knicks should at least inquire. But I need to see him back on the court and at least have a little bit of confirmation that he's healthy, the foot is healed properly, and he can continue to be the same level of player that we saw before he went down due to injury.
Yeah, and I think it's the prudent move. You don't want to tie up, like you said, not only give up assets, but tie up money for a contract potentially in the future. So, yeah, that would be the smart thing. But I wish him the best. He's a really, really good kid, and I hope he comes back next year and lights it up. And I hope he also expands his game. That he is a generational player, but he's really one dimensional. He can't shoot the three. He's not but he's unstoppable in the paint. But there's other issues to that, with RJ getting, if that's where he's living and RJ's type, he wants to live there too, with his drives and stuff like that. Is he the right player? I know from Duke and everything that it'd be, with Cam here, it'd be getting back the Duke boys. But is his game complementary with the offense we want to run? So I think there's a lot of questions we have to ask.
I totally agree with you. I'm putting a question in the chat, or a poll in the chat. I want to know what you guys think. Should the Knicks pursue Zion Williamson? Let me know what you guys think, and then I'll announce the results. Let's see what we have going on in the chat. We surveyed 100 people. It's hilarious. He says lots of restaurants and food options out here. Zion come through.
Yeah, but New Orleans is a crazy place for food, though.
Yeah, it seems like New Orleans is winning that fight. UBG says stay away from Zion.
Hi, UBG.
East Blue Drew says we have enough injury-prone guys. I think earlier George said bring Zion to New York. Let's go.
That's our George. Don't you love our George?
Sincere the Genius says, is this Zion a CAA client? Wouldn't they know what's going on with him? Facts. They're the ones that they're saying they're trying to push him to a larger market. That way he can get more advertisement deals. And when he does sign those deals, CAA gets a percentage of those checks.
Yeah. You only sign those deals if you play on the court.
Mm-hmm. Evan Best says, what if he's already healthy and he's playing the Ben Simmons game? Well, the Ben Simmons game was more of a mental health issue as opposed to the foot. So if they have doctors, that they analyze and they look at the injury and they say it's not healing properly, then that kind of removes the whole Ben Simmons situation from the equation. If the doctors confirm that the injury is healing slower than expected, then you just have to go based on what they believe and what their findings are.
Yeah. Even Best, my buddy from the Bronx football as well. Ben Simmons is not a game man. He had an epidermal. He has a herniated disc.
I think they're talking about Philly when he had the mental health issues.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
The back injury popped up out of nowhere all of a sudden when he got to Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Like, did you guys not do a physical on him before you made the trade? He was just happy to
all
get rid
of these doctors
Harden?
Are driving me crazy, whether it was Kemba, Nerlens Noel. How do you sign a guy like that?
Jack Frost says, look at John Morant. He's banged up a lot also. That's one thing we do have to give RJ kudos for. He's available,
Yep.
Don't want to jinx him. Knock on wood.
Yeah. Hey, Jack, you know what the crazy thing is? They're 16-2 without Ja. Memphis. That says a lot.
17-2.
7-2. That's my boy. Thank you. Yeah, but that says a lot, folks. That I know we see these wonderful dunks and all these other things, but the team is a better team without him.
I don't know if they're a better team, but they are finding their stride.
I meant teamwork, not necessarily team, but they really, really, I like that team, how they put it together. I love that coach. Now, if we could have that coach.
Yeah, John Talento is asking, Foxy, how many first-round picks do you think the Pelicans would want?
Hey, John, hope all is well with you and the family. One of my favorite people, Mr. Talento. They probably want a couple, but you know what, folks? I know this will sound crazy that I want to do it to a guy like that, but I would trade our first and another first for Ben Mathurin to move up. So I wouldn't. Like I said, I'm real disciplined that I wouldn't do anything trade for this guy. Let him play a whole year.
Yeah, I'm pulling up the Harden trade details because how many first rounds did the Nets give up
I'm so
for
old.
Harden?
You're actually putting Zion on the same sentence as a Harden, meaning
I'm saying that that's what they're gonna look for when they're
no,
trying to
I
set up a
know,
deal. They're
I
gonna try to give
know.
us a similar package.
Yeah, I would not give up a lot for, meaning I'd give up a one maybe. That's, I wouldn't give up the thing because of that foot, man.
I think they gave up about 5 different picks. Here we go. Nets receive Harden in the 2024 second round pick. So in the deal, the Rockets got 3 first round picks, the ability to swap 4 first round picks, and they also got a 2022 first round pick from Milwaukee.
Yeah.
So that's 4 firsts and the rights to swap for another 4. So if you look at Zion, I'm thinking he's going to take at least 3, right? 3 or 4 first. No,
Just meaning one's a Hall of Fame player and one's a great dunker. So it's like I don't.
true. But I think if you look at Zion, what he's able to do out there on the court, you would say if he doesn't deal with the injuries, he would be on a Hall of Fame track as well. No.
Um, I think I guess so. Offensively, definitely not on defense and stuff like
Well, I
that.
mean,
But
how many players really make it to the Hall of Fame
no, no,
based on
no,
their defense? There's
no,
only a
no.
few. Ben Wallace.
I just meant all
Most of them
around. I just
are
meant all.
standout offensive players.
Yeah. So I wouldn't give up, John. They probably gonna ask special. Yeah, they're gonna ask for the moon, man, and I just wouldn't give it.
Yeah, so you look at Zion's career stats, he's averaging 25.7 points per game and 7 rebounds per game. He's shooting 60% from the field and 33% from the 3-point line. But of course, small sample size because he's only played a little bit over a full season's worth of games. But if he were able to keep those stats throughout his career, he's definitely going to be a Hall of Famer. So I see them asking for a lot of first round picks, especially looking at the Pelicans. Maybe they can flip those picks for another player that they can, put with CJ and Brandon Ingram, because they do have Ingram there, who's a young player, and they would probably still try to want to compete because they're doing somewhat decent now with Zion not available. So if they're able to bring in a player, after trading off of Zion and still have some picks to make some more moves, I think that's probably the route they would go.
Yeah, makes sense for sure.
Yeah. And let's jump and talk about another one of RJ and Zion's running mate from college, and that's going to be Cam. I teased it a little bit earlier in the show about what this team is going to do with Cam, and I'm nervous right now, Foxy. After reading this, it makes me feel like the Knicks would seriously consider moving off of Cam Reddish in the offseason. And I think that would be a major mistake from this team. But look at what they were willing to give up Cam Reddish for. It says the deal was centered on Cam Reddish and Alec Burks to the Lakers, Taylor Horton Tucker and Nerlens Noel going to the Raptors, while the Knicks would have acquired Goran Dragic plus Toronto's 2022 first-round pick. Now, this was a rumored deal that faltered at the trade deadline. The Knicks were trying to bring in Goran Dragic, who's fill that point guard hole. They also wanted to get Toronto's 2022 first-round pick, and the deal fell through because the Knicks were trying to nickel and dime, no pun intended, for an additional second-round pick. And I'm glad that the deal fell through because I'm not trading Cam for Toronto's first-round pick and Goran Dragic. I think Cam could be a legitimate star for this team if given the opportunity. So to give him up for Goran Dragic, who got cut, and he was a buyout option, and Toronto's 2022 first-round pick, if we were going to do that, we might as well kept the Hornets 2022 first-round pick at that point.
Yeah, I think there's also an element of clearing the books of Burks and Nerlens' contract.
Yeah, but I'm not. See, I don't want to
agree
give
with you. I agree. I'm just trying. I agree totally. I totally agree. The only thing that I'm trying to take a step back and it's like it makes no sense to me. And like we said, his prototype. Let's give him this chance. He didn't get the chance in Atlanta with Herter and with Hunter and stuff like that, and come here. But also, there's always been an issue about question about his motor and some other stuff. I don't know if there's stuff behind the scenes where they're just saying I don't think this guy is going to be the guy, and so that's
he
why
hasn't been here long enough, though. That's what I'm saying. This team,
I
they're
agree.
too quick to even discuss this type of a deal. Cam could be special. Cam fills that hole that this team so desperately, needs. He's that elite. He could be an elite defender at the 3 position.
I
He can
totally
shoot,
agree.
create off the dribble. He can also pass. We've seen it, we've seen it in the few minutes he was able to get out there on the court. And it sucks that Cam is injured during this time. He would have gotten a legitimate opportunity to prove himself. And now you're starting to see players like Grimes, players like Deuce start to entrench themselves in the rotation. So to me, in this offseason, if the team is going to try to get better, they're going to have to package Cam in a deal in order to move off of a guy like Alec Burks or Nerlens Noel, in order to make some significant moves to, upgrade this roster. So me just analyzing this and trying to think 2 steps ahead, I can very easily see the Knicks moving off of Cam Reddish because we don't have the cap space to bring in anybody right now. You look at a guy like a Jalen Brunson, he's a point guard that's been rumored to, that the Knicks like and want to bring in. If you don't have the cap space to make that move, maybe Cam Reddish is someone they dangle out there to move off of some of these bad contracts that we signed last offseason. And to me, I think that would be unfortunate, and it would just be another sign that this front office is, making some terrible free agent decisions that are going to negatively impact us, years ahead.
Agree with you. Cam's a keeper for me, man. You can't teach what he has, and if you get him in the right head, oh my God, we have a monster on our hands, a great monster, and especially playing, like you said, switching RJ back to the 2 so he can bully undersized shooting guards. Him at that 6'8", and let him now guard the Tatums and stuff like that. His flexibility to play the 3-4. He could play 2. He has it all. So it's scary. Meaning, I was more scared about our front office because this was leaked, and there was some other talks about Cam. So why would you do this in the first place unless they thought they're giving up nothing and people, hey, the Lakers were the only other team and they were offering 2 second-round picks for Cam. And that's why the Knicks were able to get him. So I was just speculating that for you, me, and the SV Nation, get out of here, man. We want to keep Cam. We want to develop him. But there's something where you're saying, hey, why would they even contemplate this? Is there something we don't know?
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and say Cam Reddish is 100% untouchable, but not in a deal for Goran Dragic and Toronto's 2022 first-round pick.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree.
Yeah, we want to give a shout out to KD. No Fiad Bin says, does anybody know what's the status of Mitchell Robinson's contract? So he'll be a free agent at the end of the season, unrestricted. And I think before he hits the free agent market, the most the Knicks can offer him is what, $455? 4 years, $55 million,
which
comes
like
down
that.
to about $13.75 million per season. So if they're unable to agree to terms on that deal, then Mitch will be a free agent and he'll be able to entertain offers from any other team.
Yeah. Hey, folks, we have 168 people in the chat. We have 83 likes. Do us a favor. Let's hit that 100 metric. We really appreciate that. Please hit the like, hit that subscribe, and hit that old reminder bell so you don't miss out on any of the wonderful content from Sports Vibe TV. Shout out to the best mods on the planet. We appreciate all you do. And the poll results, should the Knicks pursue Zion Williamson with 63 votes? Do you have, it just went off my screen. I don't know if you...
I just closed it. So the poll, 68% of the chat says that we should pursue Zion Williamson, and then 31% says no.
Hey, thanks for all your input. We're going for 7 times.
No. I caught myself.
You're the coolest.
I think I'm back. I'm good, right?
I'm back in the saddle again.
I'm back and better than ever.
I'm back. Hey, Ron Cowan, haven't seen you in a while. Hope all is well, my friend.
Salute. Thank you, Ron, for tuning in. Appreciate you pulling up, chopping up with us on this Sunday evening. Let's see what else we got going on in the chat.
Hey, Adele Chapman, you're my favorite too on Sundays, man. Adele said this is my favorite spot on Sundays. Hey, where's the place to be?
Sports Vibes TV. You already know.
You got that right. Adele, you're wonderful.
All right, let's move this. Bring this back. Let's see what we got going on in the chat.
Hey, you were supposed to say something else.
Oh, no. I'm getting there. All
right.
We surveyed 100 people. Says so close to 100. Let's get us up there. Get us 100 likes. We appreciate it. Adele Chapman says, "Do you think Rokas will be here for the summer league?" Yeah, I think he'll be here for the summer league. He was here last season, and he was able to get permission from his Spanish club. I don't see why his Spanish club would deny him the right to come and play again. It'll help him get better, play against, play with some of the guys he played with last year. Like, well, Quick probably won't be there, but Deuce, Grimes, Sims, you'll probably see those guys out there summer league with him. And we know he's been in communication, I think, with a lot of those players as well. So I think it'll be nice to see him stateside playing for the Knicks in summer league.
Yeah, but you could see it now. Quick won't be on the bench, but I could see him being in the second row, yelling at the guys what to do.
I wouldn't be shocked. Would not be shocked. All right, Foxy.
Uh-oh.
Guess what time it is?
What time is it?
It's time for the Sports Vibes TV Lounge. Now, this is a section of the show where you guys are able to ask your questions down in the chat, and we'll put it up on screen, and Foxy and I will answer them.
Yo, this is our favorite time of the show.
Foxy, you hear anything?
Yeah, I heard that beat come in, man. It's like, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Is it too loud or is it good?
A little lower would be on the mix. Nah, good. But I liked it, man. You put a smile on my face. I've been waiting for that bass line for a while.
Wait for that one too.
You're the coolest, man. But this is the SV Nation takeover, man, where we love your questions and you ask, anything you want. You want to talk Knicks? You want to talk draft? You want to talk life? We're cool.
Max. Let's see what else we got going on. Dwayne, Freddie, Hubbard says you got to keep Cam. Totally agree.
Agree with you, Dwayne.
Salute to New Yorker. He says IQ is playing like a starter finish game on the floor. Yeah, I wish Quick would start, but the second best thing is going to be him being one of the closest. And I think you see the way he's able to score when his three-point shot is falling. You did mention he dribbles a little bit too much, but he's one of the guys that can, create off the dribble, get into the paint. And I think you can see the development from him. He's starting to finish with his left hand. He had a beautiful leg. He had a beautiful hezzy move on Bam. Oh man, that was a thing of beauty. And for him to finish with the left hand off the glass,
gorgeous, man. It was like, oh my God, was that stunning, man? Woo!
Yeah. I put that right on the same level as that finesse move we saw from RJ today.
Yeah. Hey, my friend DBR. Hope all is well with you and your family.
D.Burr, what's good, man? How's everything? Oh, Dwayne Freddie Hubbard says, should IQ be the starting point guard next season? If we don't have anyone else available to get in the free agent market, and it looks like it's going to be slim pickings, then yes, I think Quick should be given the opportunity to start. Now, I don't think, Quick is the typical point guard, but you look at the Thibs offense. He runs something that he has a role in the offense that I like to call the pseudo point guard or the PPG, and I think it fits nicely with Emmanuel Quickly. He can still look to score, but at times he keeps the ball moving and just makes sound decisions once he's able to penetrate and collapse the defense. I think his floor awareness and his vision out there on the court is not up to par with a traditional point guard, but as long as he's able to stay aggressive, he can still do a lot of things out there that'll help make life easier for his teammates. So I do think he's the best option as the starting point guard if no other moves are made. Right now, he should be the starting point guard. I don't understand why Alec Burks is still continuing to start, but whatever Thibs decides, that's on him.
I agree with you. Hey, there was incredible growth from his first season to his second season on defense. Everything he's done, he's a real student. Everything you hear about Quick, he lives in the film room. So I see him going to the next level next year. My only concern is Derrick Rose, folks. Is he going to take away development minutes from not only IQ but our boy Deuce? So I would not be dead against D Rose getting traded, man.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like D Rose is rushing to get back now. You know the way you let Berman tell it. If he's able to come back, what's going to happen to Deuce? What's going to happen to Grimes if Grimes is healthy and able to come back? So, we have a very congested backcourt right now. We've got a bunch of guards, and you want Thibs to focus on the younger players, but we already know he's kind of indebted to his vets for some reason, and he's going to put them out there on the court more than he's going to actually play the young guys to help them get better.
With you.
What you call it? KD says, "Can someone please explain to me why the Knicks let go of Luka Samanic? He was playing great ball before he got hurt, and that's the answer to your question right there. The fact that he was hurt, he's been injured. I think for the entirety of 2022, right?
Yeah, that
Pretty
foot, and
much.
like you said, he had a issue with the foot, and later turned into, I think,
Plantar
plantar.
fasciitis, yeah.
Yep, and so yeah. Hey, old, those old dogs stick together. So if Pops, I watched a lot of him, and I think he'd have issues on the defensive front. But there may be an energy issue with him, and that's why Pops moved on from him, and why the Knicks said, "Let's move on."
Yeah, I mean, he has good size because even though he wasn't playing, he was in attendance when I went to go see Deuce play for the Westchester Knicks, and he has nice size. He was on the court. He's working on his post up game a little bit. He took some shots. He was knocking down the three effortlessly. I have to admit he did airball one of them, but for the most part, he looked good. His form looked good. He looked like he was an agile big, and for it not to work out, I think it sucks. But you look at this team. I think he would have been a nice option as a small ball five. But outside of that, he honestly really didn't have a space anywhere else on this team. You already have Obi as the backup four, and then we have Julius Randle as the starting four. So he could have been an option as a stretch five, but unfortunately, due to the plantar fasciitis, he wasn't able to see the court. And we ended up bringing, what is the guy? Ferron. What's his name?
Hunt.
There we go.
Yep. But
Let's
he's
see.
he's a G League player. I don't ever see him on the Knicks.
Yeah, which is why I don't understand why he signed to a two-way deal. The purpose of a two-way deal is so that you can also come up and help the big club. So if we both agree we don't see him as a big league player, what was the point of making the move?
Yeah. And I told you the most hilarious part of reading up on him and stuff like that is that high motor, but just mediocre on defense. It's like, how do you bring a guy like that to a Thibs team?
Facts. We surveyed 100 people. Says we got lounge music. Yeah, thanks to Foxy. You planted the seed. So appreciate you, Foxy. Thank you.
Yo, back at you. DSJ Delano, the real DSJ. Special shout out to you, my friend, Nudie25. Again, one of our old friends. Hope all is well with you and your family.
Facts. I got a question from Darren Gale. He says, do you guys think one of these two have to go, Thibs or Randle? Both can go, but I think I think Randle could be salvageable. I think Thibs, though, it's over for Thibs. He's set in his ways. He's already has his opinion on what's the best way to win in the NBA. It's just that me personally, I don't think it's going to work in the modern NBA. So if I had to choose one of the two, I'd move on from Thibs before I move on from Julius Randle. Also, if you look at us trying to move on from Julius Randle, it might cost us more than we want to give up, because right now Julius Randle is really he's not a plus asset right now. I would say he's a negative asset, as well as a few other players on this team, like an Alec Burks. Evan Fournier, he's probably a plus asset right now because he can knock down the three. But you've got Randle, who's a negative. You've got Nerlens Noel, who's a negative. You got Alec Burks, who's a negative. So to try and trade a Julius Randle, it might cost one of the young guys just to get a team to take him. So I think it'd be better off for us to move off of Thibs. Also, it would be easier, doesn't hurt our cap or anything like that. It's just something Dolan will have to deal with, and he's used to it. He already cleared house with the Rangers, so he can pay the bills.
With you. Hey, DeRoss, Dripmore, to my friends, hope all is well.
Next,
Naruto Goku.
East Blue said, should we move all the vets for an okay point guard and just focus on developing the kids? Depends. I would agree with that. Yes, we should move the vets and try to get an okay point guard, but I don't want to go and get, me personally, I'm not big on Brunson if we got to pay him $23 million. I think he's an okay point guard, and at that $23 million, contract value, you're paying him a little bit too much.
Yeah, I would not pay Brunson $23 million either, and especially our eyes have been open with the last several weeks of watching IQ and Deuce, and you just mentioned Rokas. It makes no sense, man, to give that up. And again, if we can get a different, somebody else down the road, yeah.
Agent Super Argo says, I know I'm not the only one who predicted that 21-point lead was about to be diminished when Thibs replaced the younger players with the starters. I didn't think it was going to happen, honestly, because the Pistons didn't look that great. So I'm like, all right, this is going to be a laugher. They don't have their two best players. We might struggle a little bit here and there, but we should have enough offensive firepower to pull this one out. So the fact that they were able to get it down to 104, 102 as the final, that really just... It was a win, but it wasn't a win I felt extremely confident about. We had a nice moment at the end where Burks was able to strip it, and you could cheer that, but I'm like, that was way too close for comfort, especially a depleted, Pistons team.
Yeah. That's going to get probably the number 1 pick.
Mm-hmm. Let's see what else we got going on.
Hey, Gregory Lee, hope all is well.
East Blue Drew says, with Sims playing this impressive, could we move off Mitch and Randle for a good point guard? I think that might be actually my next film breakdown, looking at Jericho Sims, because he could be some insurance for Mitchell Robinson. Now, he is a big drop. There is a big drop off between Mitch and Sims in certain areas, but I think the energy you see from Jericho Sims out there is something that, you don't really see as much of from Mitch. Mitch, for the most part, starts, he's kind of like a lumbering now, since he added some of the additional weight. But if you look at the Jericho Sims, he's agile, he's quick, he's a lot of movement, versatile, a lot of movement on the
switches.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Excellent rebounder, offensive rebounding too. Has a little jump hook that I'd love to see get going. Yeah, so I'm with you, but I look at him as more as a second team. I hope his ceiling is above that. But I don't really see, he was a 58th pick for a reason, but he gets an A+ in my book this year. Very seldom you ever see a 58 pick do what he does. So shout out to Sims, man. Jericho.
Yeah. Wayne Peterson says, have y'all seen the two-way player Farron Hunt in Westchester yet? No, I haven't really seen too much footage of him in Westchester. I'm not going to front. I haven't watched a lot of Westchester Knicks games when Deuce ain't playing.
Yeah, I've seen
I've seen some Luka, but then he got hurt, and then I'm like, well, I don't know who else I'm going to watch on this team. You got Sims with 2 M's.
Yeah, exactly. I saw him with at SMU, but I haven't seen him at Westchester.
Me neither. Anudi 25 says these victories aren't as entertaining with Randle on the floor. That's a fact. It's not the same brand of basketball. Not as exciting. I know. We got it done, but it's not the way I would go about it if I was the head coach. But I'm not going to get too upset over a win. We surveyed 100 people. Who's your favorite point guard in the league right now? I'd probably say Chris Paul, CP3, when he's available. Just the things that he's that old-fashioned floor general. He's gritty. I like the fact that he's always getting under people's skin. That's one thing I like about Chris Paul, and the fact that he got at Stephon Curry with that little, and Steve Kerr. I like that. I like the back and forth. I like the grittiness between CP3 and some of the other competitors, and he plays defense. He's got a deadly mid-range game. He can knock down the 3, and he's from a different era, man. He's a dying breed, one of the last true floor generals in this league.
Yeah, that makes the players around him better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I love him.
I'm still holding on to mid 2000s NBA. Let's see what we got going on. Randle changes the flow of the offense. Facts.
Yeah.
Delano still. Salute to everyone in the chat. Salute to the bro Key. Salute Delano. Appreciate you tuning in. One of the OG supporters. Been around from like day one. Thank you for tuning in. Let's see. Omari Belgrave says, if we keep D Rose and no point guard in the offseason, I can see that. I'd be open to a quick starting point guard and then D Rose point guard off the bench. And then you still have, but then it would just be, it would be like last year all over again. When I wanted to see last year, Quick get some minutes as the backup point guard. And then next season, I want to see Deuce get minutes as the backup point guard. But if Rose is here, we already know he's going to take one of those spots. And whatever spot he takes at the point guard position, Quick is going to fill in the other one. So it's a weird spot to be in. And, D Rose, he's getting paid a lot of money, too, for a guy that really hasn't played much this season. So it's going to be real hard to move him.
Shout out to Jay Boogie, our friend.
Hey, Jay Boogie pulled up.
Yep. Hope all is well.
Salute.
At 9:39, I think. Yeah. So
let's see what else we got going on. You see any more hashtag SVTVs for questions?
No, Lex the Destroyer, thanks for getting rid of my friends, hot girls and boys. So
Thank you, Lex, for holding it down. I saw it and I was trying to run to go save the day, but Lex is holding it down. So I appreciate that, bro. And Delano as well.
Yeah.
And John. Hey, we got the whole squad holding it down. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a team effort, man. I say you guys are the third co-host all the time, and you guys are proving it right there. Keeping the chat, clear from the perversion.
Joseph John, hope all is well with you and your family. He likes Sims' mobility and physicality on defense compared to Mitch, but Mitch can block. Yeah.
And is an elite offensive rebounder. What did he have? 5 blocks today?
He did. He did.
Yeah. We didn't even get to Mitch much.
Yeah. Well,
he scored. That's a sign he's on his way out.
He scored 4 points, had 9 rebounds, but like you said, he had those 5 blocks.
Big too. Oh, let's see. Ace of Spades says, "Would you rather Colin Sexton or Brunson?" Brunson.
Colin Sexton's too high usage. I have a lot of respect for Sexton, but Brunson, I think, again, it's all about RJ's development and the kids' development. I think Brunson would allow them to develop.
Thanks. We hit the 100 like threshold.
Thank
you very much. We're at 103. We appreciate all the support. Let us know if you have any more questions. Put hashtag SVTV. East Blue Drew says, "What would happen if the Nets got a chip before Knicks? Do we raid Dolan's crib?" I'm not too concerned about the Nets, honestly, but it definitely would put some heat to James Dolan's feet, and we might see him do some bold things in order to steal back the back pages of the New York Post and the Daily News. So that is something to keep an eye out. Hopefully, the Nets don't win, and then James Dolan doesn't freak out and say, "Oh, I have to win back the streets of New York." For the most part, New Yorkers are not about to start flocking to the Brooklyn Nets because they bought a championship.
Yeah. Remember the last time they made a move like that, because the Nets signed Kyrie and KD. We signed some guy named Julius Randle.
Yeah. But even then, we didn't do that bad. We signed Julius Randle. Well, I think what was worse is what we did this offseason when the Nets went, when we gave him extensions. We gave him an extension. We gave Nerlens Noel multi-year deal. We gave Alec Burks a multi-year deal. These guys never had a home in the NBA, and James Dolan just said, "Hey, come as you are."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our guy Adele Chapman, thoughts on Schroeder on that as a fit as a Knick? I look at IQ. The way IQ is growing, I don't see any need for Schroeder.
Yeah, and I don't think Schroeder's consistent enough. If I'm going to bring in a point guard that's going to usurp Emmanuel quickly and take the point guard position from him, I need somebody that's going to be consistent game in and game out. And I don't think Schroeder is one of those point guards where you can rely on him every game to make his teammates better. There's some games where he kind of disappears. So me personally, he's coming off the bench too now, right, for the Celtics?
That, and also I thought he got traded from the Celtics.
Did he?
But also Quick is so much better on defense already than him.
Yeah, I'm going Quick all the way if I have to pick Dennis Schroeder or Quick.
Yeah, my guy, while he's looking up, Kaiser Soze, hope all is well with you and your family. Again, Gregory Lee.
Oh yeah, he got moved to the Rockets.
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
I'm old, but every once in a while the brain still works.
I'm young and the brain works half the time.
That's because you're working all the time. You're my idol, man.
That's true. Let's see what else we got going on. Alexis Shoya, great job. Wrench Mob, thank you guys. We appreciate it. Obi, Anudi 25 talking about J Boogie's Obi song. Yeah, that's some heat.
Yeah, we love that, Boogie. We are always listening. I know Boogie's coming out with some new stuff, so we can't wait. He's so talented and so prolific.
Facts.
And also, like I always do with Boogie, hey, folks, if you're in the North Carolina area going up north, or you're in the New York area going down to North Carolina, do us a favor. If you're looking for a mover, Better Care Movers, nc@gmail.com, bettercaremoversnc@gmail.com. Let Boogie know that you're part of the SV Nation, and he'll definitely he'll hook you up. So if you need any moving, this is moving season we're coming into. Take care of our guy Boogie. He's a great guy.
Facts. SVTV thoughts on Jamal Crawford retiring and his time as a Knick. I mean, Jamal Crawford was an electric scorer. You know, it sucks that he had to retire this way because it seemed like he was angling over and over and over again trying to get a job. So the fact that he now had to retire after he's already years removed from playing in the league, I think that sucks. He should have got his flowers when he was still a lot closer to the actual or to his playing time. But you know,
I wish we held on to him longer, though.
think so.
I loved his game, man. I love a guy like that.
What else we got going on? Collison, point guard on the cheap.
Yeah, that last word is the real is the whole thing. Yeah.
That's what we got going on. Do you ever see Thibs succumbing to a youth lineup? Deuce, RJ, Cam, Obi, Sims. I mean, we almost had a lineup like that to win the game against the Heat. You know, for some reason, Taj was in there, but he played solid defense, so you can live with it. But we had the young lineup out there. We had Quick, we had Deuce, we had Grimes, we had Sims, and then we had Taj.
Yeah. Well, we had Jericho Sims. Sims with two M's is Amir Sims.
Aaron Sims, yeah. Oh, is it Aaron or Amir? Oh, I forgot the first name.
Yeah.
Joseph John says, do you think Brunson will get the Kimber treatment because of his height advantage? When you mean the Kimber treatment, you mean what, get benched? Or
no, I think killed on D,
over and over again.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they'll attack him. Yeah, it depends. If he's out there with Evan Fournier, then they'll pick Fournier over him, I think.
Yeah. But Brunson's is a professional. But like I said, with the play that I'm watching of these kids, hey, I said X amount of months ago that Brunson is 25, Deuce is 21. Brunson is Deuce on offense with handles. And you know what? Deuce is working his butt off to get those handles. So why the hell do we want to spend $20 million on a guy when we have a player that is so far ahead of Brunson on defense? Deuce is already superior to Brunson on defense. Now, if he could just pick up those other elements, and he will, he's a pup. You know, he's got 4 years on him. That's a lifetime in the NBA. We have a super chat from our best friend, Adele Chapman.
Yep, I'll get to it in 1 second. Caleb Stephan says, how do the Knicks acquire Zion mock trade? What players are you including in a Zion Williamson trade, Foxy?
None. Like I said, I wouldn't trade for him, Alyssa, but to just play along, I'd give up, let's see. Oh, we don't have Wayne Selden anymore. I don't know. Like I said, I don't want to go through a guy with a foot issue like that. So sorry, Caleb.
Well, I'm going to see if we can pawn Julius Randle off on him. See if they can take him. We might have to take some salary back. I'm not sure.
I was about to say the only reason I didn't say this is because the salaries don't match up. Yeah.
So we'd have to take some more salary back. It depends. If we're able to give up a young guy, I don't think I'd give up Quick in the deal if I had to give up Julius Randle. But let me see. Maybe I might include Deuce if I can get Zion and not have to give up too many in draft equity, especially seeing that we have a crowded backcourt. But and you know, Deuce also doesn't make a lot. What is he making? $900,000 for the year, right around there. So you can include him in a deal as an additional asset and see if the Pelicans can add somebody as well to make the numbers match.
Yep.
We got a super chat from Adele Chapman. He says, draft stash guys' contracts start when they play or expire after a certain amount of time. That's a good question. I know you hold their rights for a certain amount of time, but I don't think their contracts count against the cap or anything like that.
Yeah, especially if they're in Europe.
Mm-hmm. And then I think they come over and they typically sign a regular rookie deal, right? The 2+2, depending on where they got drafted, or 2+1.
Yeah, and it's weird if you look at the Knicks, you know how many players we have, like, are 28, 30 years old that we have. If you look down and go to Basketball Reference on the team site for the Knicks, go all the way down. We have all these players that we hold the rights to for a long time, but they'll never come over here.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's an interesting thing. Well, Foxy, I want to thank you. We had a great show, chopping it up.
Yep. Love the SV Nation, as always. Great show, and we just love chopping it up with you, like you said. And hey, we won today. We won the last few games, and it's a really nice feeling, man.
Yeah, we're finally winning, and we're winning with some of the young guys actually stepping up and being major contributors. So I think that's really changed the outlook of the season for me. I mean, this game kind of feels like we're heading in the opposite direction once again, but we'll see. We got a game tomorrow. Hopefully, we'll see Obi get a little bit more minutes, more than the 17. I'd like to see him get around the 20 to 22 minutes, per game at least. Deuce at 17, you can live with that quick. He's playing over 30 minutes a game. I love that.
Me too.
Fournier finally, his minutes are coming down. He played 27 against the Pistons. Burks, I don't know if Burks needs the 33 minutes, but he did come up in a clutch moment. So, we'll see how the game transpires or unfolds tomorrow against the Bulls. But any other last words before we wrap it up?
Yeah, Joseph John said, SVTV, what would have to happen to have RJ start at the 2 and Cam at 3?
New coach.
Uh, a new coach and a set of balls to basically say, yo, we're going to put Fournier on the second team because we think he'll be his defense won't be exposed for second team guys like they are against elite first team guys. And he's a great shooter. So, his contracts are right for that. But let's see Cam on that first team along with, but it's going to take some, it's going to take some, thank you. You're always you're the best.
Mi español es poquito. All right, SB Nation, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back again tomorrow. I believe we have a pregame show. Foxy, I'm not sure if you'll be able to attend, but if not, we'll have George from Into the Knicks verse. He'll join me as we pregame the Knicks versus Bulls, another big matchup for our squad. So once again, thank you guys for tuning in. I'll be back again tomorrow. I want to appreciate, all the support you have given the channel, and you have helped us through a very tough season. So thank you guys. We appreciate the support, and we're out.